Welcome to the Lemons and Pineapples podcast, the self-development podcast for women who want more. I'm your host, Emma O'Brien. I'm a no-nonsense life coach, a seasoned entrepreneur, photographer, rescue dog mum, and women's empowerment champion. Each week, I share self-development strategies, amazing guest interviews, and uplifting conversations that will help you up-level all areas of your life. Let's dive in. Hi, folks. Welcome to season 2, episode 15 of the Lemons and Pineapples podcast. Today, my guest is the fabulous Gina Maier Vincent, and we're talking about how to design the life you really want. First, a bit about my guest. Gina is a visionary thought leader and master motivator. She's also an inspirational speaker, author, and empowerment entrepreneur. Her specialty is coaching women who want more from their lives, something I'm also incredibly passionate about. So I am very excited for us to be having this conversation. Welcome to the podcast, Gina.
Thank you, Emma. It's so exciting to be with you again. And I didn't get to tell you yet, but today your episode is live. So
yes,
I will send you all those links shortly.
Fabulous. I'll pop those in this show note. So folks listening, if you want to go and listen to that podcast as well, please work away. We have big conversations, Gina, don't we? So
Yes, we do. And they're so much fun. And it's really a blessing to be able to connect with you around the world.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, magic. I'd say I have loved, that's one of the things I've loved about having this podcast is just who it's enabled me to connect with. We'd never otherwise really have crossed paths, I don't think. So magic of the internet. I'm going to kick us off by asking you what is, I think, a really big question. And that's, I think a lot of women could tell both of us if we asked them what's not working in your life and what don't you want. I think many people could give us a big, long list of that. But when it comes to what you do want, I think a lot of women get very unstuck with that because I don't think people give it much thought, don't give it enough thought. So from your perspective, as somebody who's super passionate like me about helping women really go for more and not settle, how do you get clear on what it is you want?
Yeah, it is a big deal. And I think what happens is we live in a world that's constantly begging us to conform, to fit in, to be safe, to stay with our tribe. And when I say tribe, I mean, I'm a mother of 2 and I know you're a mom as well. We want to keep our kids safe, right? So we think, oh, they should be more like us. We'll play it safe. And I don't mean exactly like that, but there becomes this point where for so long, we're listening to outside voices, whether it be when we start in the classroom, then we have our peers when we become a teenager, right? We want the approval of our peers. We look for accomplishments and all these different things as we get married, start a career or whatever order or whatever you choose. And these outside voices, and they also include social media. I am too old to have grown up with a device in my hand, but my kids certainly are of that age. We didn't choose to give them devices when they were younger, but they did grow up with social media. And I think you also add in media, it shows us or asks us to be something that we may not. And I think we have to stop and think about the people who may have, let's say, walk through a room and you're like, wow, they really know who they are. They really shine brightly. Like I look at you in your beautiful red blouse and your lips and all, and you glow, Emma. And I think that was the first thing that attracted me when we met the first time on Zoom. And I think that I'm sure when you walk into a room, if only I could be there, a different continent, but if only I could be there, I'm sure people turn their head and think, wow, how does she do that? And there are very few and far between people who are able to, let's say, unapologetically or unabashedly walk through a room with that confidence, but they've done the work. And the work is to ask themselves those questions. And the questions is, are, in my opinion, what did I give up? What did I give up in order to be a better employee, wife, mother, what all the different tasks, daughter of an aging parent who needs my help, sister to XYZ, sister to a brother who needs help because he's ill at the moment. And I think if you can go back, I've had some clients tell me horseback riding. And the minute she told me horseback riding, her voice changed. And it was like, well, tell me more. Oh, I grew up with horses, da 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 da. My dad had this many acres, la la la. And then she went on to tell me when I was living in Hawaii, I was able to work on a ranch, la la la. After a divorce, it was so therapeutic. And I was like, you need to get back to horses. And she just let me know that through me pushing her a bit, or stretching, or both, she in her networking meetings, I said to her, please, instead of just focusing on business, put out things that if somebody says, what do you like to do? I love horses and I miss being with them. I left California for my new state. I don't have enough property here, but I wish I could connect. Immediately, 3 different people told her about horse people, and she just finished, I don't know if you could say pet sitting, but watching somebody's horse in their home, at their barn, on their property, and loved it. And so I think if we can ask, did we give up reading books? I mean, it could be anything. And when you start adding the things that you used to be passionate about that you gave up, it could even be playing with Play-Doh. I mean, clay, like getting your hands dirty, messy with paint, maybe finger paint. I don't know. I think the other question is, what are my more dreams? Like, what is that expansive look? Things that you never got to experience yet that are on your maybe bucket list, or things maybe you hear Emma's episode and you think, oh, I never did that. I'd like to try it. I know your passion for photography, and I think that we have this camera with us all day long, and it's this magical camera that you can actually see your images immediately, right? And edit forth. And maybe it's taking a photography class, but I think once we start kind of quieting the social noise and asking ourselves those questions. The other thing I want to mention here, because you didn't say it, but many people believe that it's work and life balance. I do think the balance part is correct, but I don't think it's 2 words. I think there's our relationships. It could be a love relationship, marriage, or a partnership. It could be family relationships, friendships. I mean, hobbies, learning and education. I know there are plenty of people that just are like sponges. I have a client, she loves to learn. So travel is a big part of her life, or needed to be. And she had an ex-husband who didn't feel as comfortable putting all 3 kids on an airplane and using their passport to see the world. But now she's taking all 3 kids and showing them the world. And I'm not saying you have to divorce your husband, not at all.
No, that's not what we're saying, folks. Okay, unless you want to, in which case, please go ahead.
Right. It wasn't what I was getting at. But, the other thing is, I think sometimes we give up exercise or movement. I don't like it to sound like a chore, but that should be a part of our, not this work life, but this balance. And for me, of course, there's spirituality, maybe some call it faith or religion. And then, of course, something that you and I both share is a love for animals. So whatever that might be, it could be the environment, the planet. And I think when we get back in touch with those things, those aren't the answers, but those start to allow those layers of other stuff, things that don't belong, to come off, and for us to start really being passionate about everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's so, two such powerful questions. And I think I like how you phrased that. I would also go so far to say, what is the cost to you
Yes,
of of not having what you want? What's the cost? And
correct.
I think often it's an emotional cost, it's a spiritual cost, it's a cost on a soul level.
Yes.
I think, when you are slightly off track with life, that it just something doesn't feel right.
Yes.
And, or something might feel very not right. And I think there's something in here about valuing yourself enough to ask yourself the question, what did I give up? And
Yeah.
make the time to go and refine that and
Yeah.
go and do it and make the time, even if you've got a crazy busy schedule. One of the things I did, you'll enjoy this, is last year we went swimming with humpback whales in Mozambique.
Oh my. I mean,
Twice.
they're gentle, I guess. I mean,
Well, so you're not allowed to touch them or interact with them. I wasn't lucky enough to have one try and swim up to me and touch me. I was in the water going, please try and touch me, please try and touch me. But no, none of them did. But that was, for me, that was quite a big thing to make happen.
yeah.
But it was something that was on my bucket list. And I think the one thing I got from COVID, and we talked about it on your episode, so if anybody wants to know more about kind of my wake up calls I've had, they must listen to our episode that we did on your podcast, is that the time to do things that you feel called to do is now. I
Yes.
think lots of us pre-COVID just put stuff off. I know I did. So, I'll get to that at some point. I'll get to that at some point. And actually what you have to do is prioritize getting to the things that matter to you, because that's what I think real happiness in life is those experiences and stepping up for yourself and doing those things for yourself. So I'd love to know from your point of view why you think it is that women often don't do these things. I'm going to say I sometimes feel like people might perceive me to be quite self-centered, because I just kind of go, well, I'm going to go and do that, and I'm just going to go for it, because actually I don't care, to be quite honest. I think there's a lot of women lack the ability to do that.
Yes.
And I'm curious from your point of view, kind of the psychology behind that, and how one shifts that a bit.
Yeah. I I agree with you completely, everything you just said. And I find it in men, women, and even some children. My daughter's adopted, and it was hard to watch her struggle with what I consider a centuries old pandemic. You just mentioned COVID, of feeling unworthy. And if you go back, because this kept coming up with clients of mine of all ages, I don't usually work with children. The child I was talking about again is my adopted daughter. And it was just so fascinating to me that I started researching this and just like doing as much as I could. And I don't mean from a psychology standpoint, I just mean basic research. And what I find is it goes back centuries. It's not something new that started in the 60s or, even when my grandmother was born in 1900. It goes back centuries, and it's like this heavy weight that we carry within our mind or behind us. We don't quite know what it is, in my opinion, until somebody like pokes the bear, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And you brought it up perfectly. I say people are fear being judged. And you mentioned, you just go ahead and do it. I'm going to do this, and you do it. And I'm guessing your husband just adores that in you. I know my husband, he's like, well, why are you even asking me? I know you're going to do it. And I was like, well, I kind of just wanted to make sure that this is a great idea that I'm having, you know what I mean? And of course, he's like, I have no idea because I'm not a businessman. Like, you're the business, this is your business. And, because sometimes these ideas that you and I think have are big and bold, right? And then we realize that others can judge us. And I think many people suffer with that. And I think of a client who I'll never forget. We were sitting in the yard working one-on-one. She loves nature as much as I. And I asked her that poking question. The question was, on a scale of 1 to 10, how worthy do you feel, with 10 being, top of the thing? And I kind of had a feeling of where she was going to answer. And she said 4. And I just sat there silently. She was actually in tears when she came to the, like, nobody's ever asked me that. I guess I'm a 4. And I was super sad and holding back the tears that I could feel of hers, because I knew it was true for her. I could just see by her body language. I could tell because we were getting into these questions of what she desires now that she was had newfound freedom of being divorced. And I said to her, what do you need to get closer to the 10? I know that's not going to happen overnight. And she sat there thinking about it, and she came up very quickly and said, permission. And I was like, okay, well, right now I am giving you permission, but the homework is giving yourself permission. And so how do you do that? For me, the answer was for her to think about compliments people were giving her. So I asked her about that. And she said, I don't really enjoy receiving compliments. And I was like, okay, why? Why, like me, right? I love these kind of sessions, because I think they remove so many blocks, and we get to the underlying, what's the cause of this? And so she could very quickly, let me back it up. She could very quickly figure out where that unworthiness came from. It was a maternal figure in her life, an older maternal figure who she herself was extremely generous, but yet didn't see herself worthy. And I think lots of women fall into that category. But I told you, it does happen with men and children. I've seen it firsthand, but I think that we've seen that doting grandmother who gives and gives and gives till she's exhausted, and so forth. And I think that for me, I asked her, okay, let's start thinking about your patients that give you compliments, your friends, people of influence, people they're telling you the truth, people you trust, you value. And so I asked her to keep in her journal, start documenting. And she was getting so many compliments, which I figured because I knew what type of person she was and what kind of doctor. And she was getting all these compliments. And I said to her, okay, now let's look at the theme. And almost everybody said the same exact things. Like if you were to just highlight keywords. And I said, do you think they would lie to you? No. Okay, are you start believing them? And the trend went from, I really don't enjoy receiving compliments, to I'm grateful for them. And her number from 4 went up to 10. And I'd say now she's probably an 11, which is what I strive for, right? We should be off the charts on some things. We should just be too much, right? And in the end, she needed to give herself that permission, which she finally did, as she started. What I asked was to see herself through the eyes of others. And that's why those compliments were so important, so that she then could see herself through her own eyes. And it's I think it's something you and I discussed some on that same episode that we were talking about earlier. And I'd love for people to listen to that, because I loved hearing your take on like settling. And I think that block is what keeps us or allows us to settle more quickly and easily.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I see a lot of women settling, and I think it seems to be a trend that often they'll get to midlife and wake up one day, look around and say, is this is this it?
Yeah.
Is this it for the rest of my life? And it doesn't have to be.
No.
I think it's then when you start to ask the questions, like you said, what did I give up? What did I used to do that really lit my hair on fire in a good way? And how can I add more of that back in?
Yeah.
What feels good to me? And what am I doing in my life that doesn't feel good? What am I saying yes to that I actually just don't want to be doing? And I think there's a mindset shift there in looking at your time and saying, I have this finite amount of time in this human existence. I mean, none of us know actually how much time we've got. So it's why waste it? And to start to have a look at what fulfills me. And, you know, I'm a realist here. You know, we can't all be skipping around having a fabulous time all day, every day. But I think really 18 to 90% of the time you are awake should be time that you feel content.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a slog through it. But yet I think that's where a lot of women get to. And it's things like you've shared here. This unworthiness piece is enormous. It's enormous. And I think a lot of women don't go for more because they don't believe they deserve more, or that they're capable of more. I mean, my mum is the perfect example. She wanted to be a vet and was told by someone at school, oh, you'll never do that.
Ooh.
And so she's never really kind of stretched herself much career-wise. And she's very, you know, she's incredibly capable and she could have done it. But I think it's starting to recognize, what do I want? And it's the internal work. And I think this is often work that you do with a coach. This is where, for me, I think the power of coaching really does come in. When you're sitting somewhere at a 4, you know you'd like to be doing something, but it requires you to be a 10 on the worthiness scale. How do you go from 4 to 10? How do you do that inner journey of transformation to get you to a space where you feel that you can step up for what you really want? And I hope folks listening to this, because everybody listening to this, I think, will have something in a dream that's in the back of a drawer somewhere. Please get it out. Please dust it off and have a look at it and just see, could I make a move towards this? Could I bring this in somewhere?
Absolutely.
So important. So important.
Well, I think I mean, I know we agree on this, so I'll just say it, but I'll add to something. I think when we do that, when we allow ourselves to do that, we encourage others to do the same. And then it just causes this like ongoing ripple effect, not just for children, but neighbors and friends and, you know, spouse and family members. And I think the happier we are and the more we're fulfilling our dreams. Like I said, I can imagine you walking into a room and people are like, you know, and if they can do that too, then think about how many others they can inspire every time they walk into a grocery store or anything, a hair salon, a restaurant, a networking meeting, their child's school, whatever it might be. Yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah, I think there's a saying, I can't credit it to anybody because but it is, when you start to shine your light brightly, you give other people permission to do the same. And I think often when people are not stepping up because they're afraid of being judged, actually, for the most part, people will have a look and give you a very large round of applause and then say, hang on a minute, if you can do it, I can do it. And I think that's where the power is. Gina, you have I know we could keep talking about this for quite some time. You have a book coming out soon, and I know 3 of the themes in your book are time, money, and energy.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit about how those relate to what we're talking about? So this piece of women really going for what they want. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So, and thank you for mentioning the book. Time, money, and energy, I call them our divine resources. And you mentioned already that our time is an infinite currency, right? And I think oftentimes many of us, I see it in all ages, we think about how we spend our money, but we don't really think twice about how we spend our time. And it goes back to that authority paradigm where if you're listening to the media or social media or to like your mom hearing from somebody at school, you're not going to do that, then we don't know how to spend our time, money, and energy. And of course, money is our power currency, and energy is an invisible currency, which sometimes for me is even hard to explain. But I think we know what it feels like to feel tired, exhausted, versus elated, energetic, like our hair on fire. You said before, I love that. My hair stands up. So it is like it's on, and it was red at one point, not naturally red, but you get the picture.
Yeah.
And I think that I love when you said, take that dream out of the drawer. That's a beautiful image. And when you do ask yourself those questions and take that dream out, we have to then make choices all day long. And we have that ability to align our decisions with that choice. So certainly if we look outside the window or open our phone, we know there's advertising and social media and people begging for us to spend our money on a quick fix, whether that be a coffee shop, etc. And that if you buy this purse, handbag, you're going to feel like $1,000,000. Maybe you will, but maybe after 30 minutes, it'll subside, or 30 days. I don't know. And the idea is, or the concept is that when you really start valuing those three divine resources, time, money, and energy, and just asking yourself those questions, does this purchase, does this exchange, if you will, because I believe it's an exchange of energy, money, and so forth, does it align with my, what I like to say, my more? Is it bring me one step closer to, if your dream is to be that vet, to be a vet, or my legacy, my calling, whatever that is. Some clients of mine, their more is to be with that amazing partner, that amazing man, because I have a lot of women, which I think you do as well. And so, hey, if I run myself ragged by giving my energy to 10 people and volunteering for things I'm not really interested in, will I look my best when I bump into that dream guy? No, probably not. So why not cut back? And I think a lot of people have not have or feel guilty maybe saying no to things, and they think they need to give an explanation. I asked a client the other day, I said, is this your religious background that you feel like you have to give an explanation when you say no? And she said, yes. I said, okay, well, I'm telling you right now, you don't have to give anybody a reason. It just doesn't align. And that's the end of it. If you even have to, if you want to say something, it doesn't align with my goals. I don't, it doesn't fit into my plans right now, whatever that might be. But I think if we can see those three things, time, money, and energy, even though I just said energy is invisible, but see and feel them as choices where we get to vote all day long. And listen, I like a good hot cup of tea. I'm usually brew mine at home, but if I'm cold, I will stop at a Starbucks and grab myself a cup of tea if I'm cold and I'm out. But I don't value buying coffee or tea out as much as I value airline tickets. And I think if we can just start those little shifts, it's not a big, I can never buy a cup of tea at Starbucks again, but it's those little choices that end up giving us the bank account we need, or giving us the time that we need to invest in whatever that might be.
I love what you've just said, and I think it's how do the everyday choices you are making align with your big goals? And if they don't align with your big goals, it's time to stop and make a different decision. And I love the analogy you've made there. And I think this is what people forget is if you have one or two takeaway coffees a day over the course of a week and over the course of a month, And over the course of the year, it probably is an airline ticket.
Yeah.
And like you say, if your goal is to go traveling and you're trying to save up for that, cut the Starbucks. Sorry, Starbucks, if anyone from Starbucks is listening. but cut it out. And I think I love this. It's about being conscious of the decisions you make and not going through life in a kind of sleepwalking mentality where you allow life to just happen. It's
Mhm.
about consciously taking charge of what is happening in your life. How are you spending your time? How are you spending your money? And who are you giving your energy to?
Yeah.
So powerful. I mean, that's a huge takeaway for me there of just how you've worded that, because I think often we don't realize that we
Mm.
actually have the power to be able to steer the ship of life, if you like.
Yeah.
You're actually at the helm. You're not a passenger.
And I agree. And I'll leave you with one tip. I like to, when I speak, and it's in the book as well, I like to encourage people to place a really crisp $100 bill into their wallet. And if 100 is too much, then put a 20, a 50, whatever. I mean, actually, I don't even know what your currency
It's
is,
like
but
monopoly money. So don't, but
yeah,
the
but
principle is there. Yeah.
whatever is a nice size bill and clean, crisp, brand new if possible. The bank is usually very helpful. I like to raffle them off when I speak, but not them, 101. And if you can leave it in your, yeah, I don't want to sound like
Suddenly everyone's going to go listen to
yeah.
you speak because you're raffling $100
Yeah,
bills off.
everyone will be signing up to stop giving up their Starbucks so they can get an airline to hear me speak, right? Yeah, that came out wrong. But anyway, maybe that's futurist talk, hopefully.
Absolutely.
But I'll put that out there. But then when you open your wallet, you have that reminder that, yeah, this is my choice. And then you also have a visual, because I'm a visual person and I know lots of my clients or who I attract are usually visual people too.
Mm-hmm.
That visual reminder that you do have money, you do have that ability to choose, whether it's time, money, or energy. And the other thing is when you're at your desk or on your phone and you're going to click that add to cart button, just ask yourself the question, is this instant gratification or lifelong bliss? If you're someone like myself, and I think, Emma, you're the same, you're here to build a legacy, to touch so many lives the way you're already doing, then it's like, is this helping me build that legacy and leave behind this beautiful message with this podcast, with the people you're able to, I was going to say touch in a way, not with your hands, but touch their heart and change their mindset, or maybe not change it, but improve, shift.
Mm-hmm.
And I think whatever it takes, I mean, again, I'm a visual person, so that visual of a crisp bill is really, really helpful.
Yeah, I think just so powerful. And I think it's a reminder, like you said, it's a reminder that you've got some money with you. So far, I think a big thing for a lot of people is money blocks and financial stuff. That can be a big source of self-development work for people. And like you said, a reminder that you always have a choice.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to spend it, then you don't have to spend it. Brilliant. And I think what I take from our conversation, lots of things I take from it, but this real bringing your day-to-day behaviors into conscious awareness, and then knowing that you have a choice to do something different and being mindful of how you're spending your time, your money, and your energy. Gina, magical. I love it. I am going to share the link to pre-order your book. So if anyone's listening and thinks Gina's as fabulous as I do, you can pre-order her book. I'm going to pop the link in the show notes. You can go there and get a copy of that. Gina, how can people connect with you if they want to get in touch with you via a website or socials? Where can they find you?
So Instagram, it's at Exquisitely Aligned. LinkedIn and Facebook, it's at Gina Maier Vincent. And then my website is Exquisitely Aligned. I think they'll find all the links there. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I'll pop them in the show notes as well so people can come and connect with you. Thank you. This has been a magical conversation. I've loved
Thank
having you.
you. Yeah, I very much appreciate it. I love your energy, your enthusiasm and passion and your brilliance. And it's been so much fun, Emma. Thank you.
Thanks, Gina. Thanks, folks, for joining us. I really hope you've enjoyed this conversation. I'm going to pop the link to mine and Gina's podcast conversation on Gina's podcast in the show notes as well, so you can go and listen to that. And I will see you all again, same time next week. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you've enjoyed it, please leave me a 5-star rating and a review, and make sure you share this episode with a friend who you know will also enjoy it. I'd love to connect with you on Instagram. Please drop me a DM and say hi at Emma O'Brien Coach. And for more information about coaching with me, please head to my website, which is emmaobrien.coach.com.